It's fine. It's fine. Honestly, it's fine. These are my views based on how I understand facts. Like, nobody can be offended by that. Right, just gotta make sure that my mimic is here to help me. Shield is up. Okay. Oh boy! I'm gonna talk about politics. I believe it was between 2012 and 2015. My political mind wasn't completely formed yet, so I was ripe for influence, and I was on my way down a right-wing rabbit hole, watching seemingly innocent videos. And the thing that snapped me out of it was the 2016 US presidential election. I don't know if this was a trend, or if it was my YouTube feed specifically, but a lot of the videos that I watched was social justice warriors being owned. I remember a video of Ben Shapiro debating college students about this extremely important topic of Boy Scouts, and why Boy Scouts should be exclusively for biologically born boys.
How do you say that some people don't have privilege when you basically just said that trans people aren't valid? They're not a thing. They're just girls pretending to be boys or boys pretending to be girls.
Okay. Oh, someone's excited. Okay.
Biological, but gender is a completely different thing.
No, gender is not disconnected from sex. So.
It's not completely disconnected, but it's still a cultural thing. It's still from society. It's
okay. No, it is not in the mind. Okay, you're not a man if you think you're a man. And I didn't say pretending, or if I did, I shouldn't have said pretending. Let me amend.
You said playing.
Okay, I said a boy who thinks he's a girl. That's the usual phraseology I use. Not playing. I usually say a boy who thinks he's a girl or a girl who thinks he's a boy, which is technically what we're talking about here. As far as the actual psychological issues at play, it used to be called gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder. Now they call it gender dysphoria. The idea that sex or gender are malleable is not true. Okay, and I'm not denying your humanity if you're a transgender person. I am saying that you are not the sex to which you claim to be. You're still a human being, and you're a human being with an issue that I wish you Godspeed in dealing with in whatever way you see fit. But if you are going to dictate to me that I'm supposed to pretend that men are women and women are men, no. My answer is no. I'm not going to modify basic biology because it threatens your subjective sense of what you are.
Okay, but you're still saying these kids should not be accepted because they don't really fit in either place? They can't just
I'm saying that the Boy Scouts have a standard. You must be a biological boy to be a Boy Scout. You have to be a boy to be a Boy Scout.
Where's that written though? Okay.
In the name Boy Scouts. Because this is a very because for all of human history, boy meant boy and girl meant girl. Boy did not mean girl.
People are very much into this culture.
And if I
riveting stuff. The videos would usually have some commentary mocking the SJWs, usually in a mean-spirited way.
Social justice warriors, the gift that just keeps on giving. And now the gif that just keeps on giving. I mean, Chanty Binks is so 2013. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the new face of feminism, Triggly Puff. First of all, you're an SJW, so you're probably a big supporter of the trans species movement. May I suggest...
Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heelvsbabyface on the beta for Warlords of Draenor with another Hidden Garrison Followers video.
At the same time, I watched videos from another channel called Heelvsbabyface, whose channel featured videos completely unrelated to the owning of SJWs, but trust me, he's relevant to this story. I also watched Philip the Fango for new stuff, and I had been for years, so now that all the chess pieces are in place, let's talk about how I managed to climb my way out of the rabbit hole, while Heelvsbabyface might have sunk into one.
Say something to you, Bethesda. Just want to say a little something. There is nothing I love more. Taking my headphones off. Fuck that. Bethesda. There is nothing I love more than to sit down, comfy chair, turn on my PC, fire up a brand new RPG, lose myself, think, oh my God, just think of this world. Just think of all the planets I can visit, all the immersive things that I can get involved with, all the fights, all the relationships, all the people I meet, all the places I go. I'm so excited to go there. And you know, I love nothing more than, with all of that laid out in front of me, I love nothing more than to be dragged out at every conceivable opportunity so you can current dayers.
So I watched these videos while I was doing some low brain capacity activity, like leveling in World of Warcraft, mount grind in World of Warcraft, or grinding dailies in, you guessed it, World of Warcraft. I would laugh at the commentary and sometimes change tabs to see the SJWs freak out, watching videos mocking people that I had a real vitriol towards. I do blame the SJWs a little bit for how the 2016 election went. They were very visible online, and I think the right did a very good job of tying them to the left. And I actually do think some of them might have changed sides since the election, going from one extreme to another. Ever heard of the saying, you're so far on the left that you're almost on the right? That's these people. So the 2016 election cycle started, and a lot of the channels that I watched seemed to support Trump. Even though the Access Hollywood tape had been made public,
moved on her, and I failed. I'll admit it. Whoa. I did try and fuck her. She was married.
Huge news, Sarah.
No, Nancy. Yeah. No, this was marriages, and I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took her out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there, and she was married. Then all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony tits and everything. She's totally changed her look. I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything.
Pull the ham.
Hello, how are you? Hi.
even though Trump had encouraged the Russians to find Hillary's emails,
That a person in our government, Katie, would delete or get rid of 33,000 emails. That gives me a big problem. After she gets a subpoena, she gets subpoenaed, and she gets rid of 33,000 emails, that gives me a problem. Now, if Russia or China or any other country has those emails, I mean, to be honest with you, I'd love to see them. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
and then the Russians found and released those emails shortly after. I'm not saying there was collusion, there was, and people were indicted for it, but there weren't found any direct links to Trump himself. All I'm saying is that the Russians had a preferred candidate, and they were happy to help even if there was no direct collusion. There was, and people were indicted for it. Maybe not in this case specifically, but there were people in the Trump campaign working with the Russians, and the only reason they're not in prison right now is because Trump pardoned them. So I started to realize that maybe the channels that I was watching wasn't the best influence on me. As I said, I was also watching Philip DeFranco at the time, and he had a bit of a different view than the people running these channels. And I had been watching him for longer than I had them, so I had more trust in him, and I think that helped. Also, I got to say, I had a poor view of Trump from the beginning. I thought that he was a ridiculous figure, and I struggled to understand why anyone could take him seriously, or think that he was fit to be president. The promises he was making seemed fake to me. He was a rich guy who was apparently going to fight for the lower and middle class. When he got into office, he did the exact opposite, giving his rich friends a massive tax cut, which was extremely predictable in my opinion. He was going to be the one to clean up the swamp, yet he seemed to be the swampiest swamp creature out there. I mean, he seemed perfectly happy to work with Mitch McConnell, who I don't think anyone can argue isn't the definition of swamp. I mean, they can argue, but they'd be wrong. Mitch McConnell was elected before I was born. He's been in office since 1984. Jim Carrey had just started out the year before, and this is what he looks like now. He held up a lot of what Obama wanted to do. He blocked Obama's Supreme Court nominee and then pushed through Trump's nominees. One of them right before Trump left office. It doesn't get any more swamp than that. Trump really lost me with his medieval solution to the Mexican border. Even Philip DeFranco said, give Trump a chance and see if he steps into the role of president after he got elected. And I was like, nah, he's going to be the worst president in history. And boy was I proven right.
In Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn in the past few hours, as thousands of supporters of President Trump stormed the US Capitol building, venting their anger at the victory of Joe Biden in the presidential election. They forced the evacuation and lockdown of Congress itself, where lawmakers were all set to approve the election result. Shortly before the clashes, President Trump had addressed his supporters near the White House, telling them that he would never accept defeat. Within the past hour, President-elect Biden called on Mr. Trump to tell his people to go home, and within minutes, that was indeed the message delivered from the White House. We'll be live on Capitol Hill shortly. First, we'll have this report by our North America editor, John Sopel.
The peaceful transfer of power, the cornerstone of American democracy, seemed a highly abstract concept today, as Trump supporters clashed with police as they tried, and succeeded, to storm the Congress, where America's elected leaders had gathered to certify the election victory of Joe Biden.
So with my outside influences and my view of Trump, I managed to drop these channels. That might have led me down a conspiratorial right-wing rabbit hole, but I feel like a lot of people didn't have that, and maybe continued down the path that I was on. I wonder how many people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th started watching seemingly innocent videos and then got more and more extreme, pushed down the darkest holes of the internet by the algorithm, like Heelvsbabyface. Now, I'm not saying that he was at the US Capitol on January 6th, I think it was in England, but I wasn't with him. I don't know the guy personally, so who knows? Maybe he got a new laptop that day. I don't know if he watched a lot of the same videos at the same time as I did, but the people that made these videos seem to have taken him in and made him more extreme. I started watching for his World of Warcraft stuff. I think I was trying to do a specific thing in the game and he had a guide on it. Later I subscribed. I enjoyed hearing his takes on the game that we both played, and then he started to cover TV shows. And some of the TV shows that I was watching, so I started to watch his TV show videos too. He hated most of the TV shows that he watched, and most of all Doctor Who. And I didn't like the direction the show was going in either. Eventually I dropped the show, like a normal person would if they don't like the show that they're watching, and stopped watching Heelvsbabyface's videos on it as well. My enjoyment of the show probably wasn't helped by the guy screaming about how bad it was, and I might have enjoyed it more if I watched it without his commentary. I've been thinking about picking it up again. Maybe the first season wasn't great, but they find their footing more in the second season, which is usually the case with a lot of shows. Even though I had dropped Doctor Who, and Heelvsbabyface wasn't making that many videos on World of Warcraft, I remained subscribed. He covered other shows that I was watching, and would on occasion collaborate with his channel called Nerdrotic. They would do videos together, talking about media that I was also following. Their views were often no diversity, never diversity. If a character was gender swapped or race swapped, they would have a fit over it. They would kind of hide their no diversity take behind, you have to create new characters for these groups of people. And to some extent I do agree. It's a little bit lazy to take an established character and swap the gender or race. But it has worked, and in some cases it's even interesting. Swapping the race or the gender of a character kind of shines a new light on them and creates new struggles for them that they have to overcome, like Sam Wilson now being Captain America. But they would never be satisfied, and they would often blast TV shows for featuring gay characters, or characters of colour, or having a slightly left-leaning take on something. Like Heelvsbabyface had a very famous fit about gender pronouns being included in Starfield. You don't have to choose they, them if you don't want to, but if you do want to, the option is there for you. One character they brought up as a black character that would be cool to have stories around was Yasuke, which is kind of ironic based on how Yasuke was received by the same group when it was learned that he was going to be one of the playable protagonists in Assassin's Creed Shadow. And this confused me a lot. I thought that this group would be happy that Yasuke would finally have his story told. I was so sure that I heard about him from this group, and then they turned around and blasted Ubisoft for this decision. Maybe I'm just misremembering or something. Now there are discussions about inclusions to be had. Is it done for the right reason? Or did some suit force it through because we have to reach this group too because we want their money as well? And the only way they're gonna interact with our product is if they're represented too, which is a very simplistic view, which usually ends up with a character whose whole personality is related to the group that is needed to be reached because they want their money. I was at a party and this topic came up. And I got the opportunity to ask someone who's part of the LGBT plus community about it, if they're happy with how they're represented on TV, in movies, or in video games. Not that they're part of some homogenous community, but it's easier to talk about it this way. They told me no. They can tell if it's done for the wrong reason, but at the same time it's good that characters from their community is represented. And then I asked them how they would like characters to be implemented, and they told me better. It needs to feel more natural, like no one is thinking about the fact that they're there. They just exist in the world of a TV show, movie or game and happen to be part of the LGBTQ plus community. But when it's done for the wrong reason, you can feel it in the performance of the actor. They look uncomfortable repeating the same story arcs over and over again because the suit doesn't understand the group that they want to reach. Because all they care about is money. Like I said, there are things we can talk about, but when you comment it from Heelvsbabyface's and Nerdrotic's perspective, you're shutting the discussion down. As Heelvsbabyface collaborated more with Nerdrotic, his views seem to get more and more extreme. I don't know if Nerdrotic is behind Heelvsbabyface's shifting views, or if he always had those views, or if they're both kind of trapped in a right-wing grift by other people who knows how to turn what they're talking about into money. In the words of Akon, on the track Sweetest Girl by Wyclef Jean, Dollar Dollar Bill y'all, I ended up watching Heelvsbabyface less and less. But I did visit his channel from time to time and I remained subscribed. He was someone I had followed for a very long time. And then the 2020 election came. And he posted a video about his friend having his post about the 2020 election taken down from Twitter. Heelvsbabyface was very upset about his friend's post being taken down, and talked about censorship. Now, Twitter is a private company. It is currently owned by free speech activist Elon Musk, who takes down posts he doesn't like, which he has every right to do because he owns the company. And Twitter had the same right back in 2020. If you break the guidelines you agreed to when you signed up, your post will be removed. Do it over and over again and your profile will be deleted. I don't remember exactly what the post was. I think it might have been the video that has since been proven false of someone burning Trump ballots in a forest. These conspiratorial posts, along with Trump's lies, led to the storming of the Capitol on January 6th. Now you can argue about whether Twitter, Facebook and other social media platforms were a little bit heavy-handed when it came to banning posts from a certain group of people. They were reeling from all the false information spread on their platforms around the 2016 election, which might have led to the election of Trump. And they might have overcorrected a little, and it might have done more damage than good, because it kind of reinforced the beliefs of the people spreading the false information about the 2020 election being silenced, because these people believe the information they're spreading. Anyway, Heelvsbabyface's video about his friend's post getting taken down was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, and I unsubscribed to him. To my knowledge, Heelvsbabyface is still deep in a rabbit hole and genuinely believes the stuff that he's posting videos about. And there are people around him taking advantage of his ignorance. And it's sad. I don't think he's a bad person. I think he's misled, maybe angry about something in his own life, and I could have just as easily dug myself into the same rabbit hole as he has. I don't think I'm more intelligent than him. I just have preset views and outside influences that kept me from falling deeper into a very dark hole. I feel like it's very easy to fall down a rabbit hole. You start watching someone on YouTube or some other platform, you form a bond of trust, and then the person you watch starts to share conspiracy theories and starts believing the wildest stuff. But because you as a viewer trust them and their opinion, and maybe you don't consume news from that many places, you start to believe those same conspiracy theories. I've followed and I've followed other channels as well. I was watching this guy every week for his coverage of The Walking Dead, and then he started questions and stuff around the COVID-19 pandemic, out of flippity-flopping nowhere. It was something like, this conspiracy theory about how the pandemic started, very interesting, So you can follow a channel you think is safe, that covers something that you're interested in, a guide for getting a specific item in a game, breakdowns of TV show episodes, and out of flippity-flopping to the flip-flop flippity-flopping nowhere, they start making videos about conspiracy theories. And that's what's scary about a platform where you're watching regular people, because there's nothing, no filter they have to go through to reach you. When I was trying to find clips for this video, I noticed that the mocking SJW videos were very hard to find. Obviously I didn't remember the names of many of the channels that I watched, but those I do remember seem to have purged those videos from their channel. Maybe they realized that these videos were toxic, or YouTube cracked down on them. I don't remember if I ever watched the guy I featured, and don't look him up. I think he's still posting these videos in 2024. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click one of the two videos that are shown up on the screen. Have a good day, week, year. I hope things turn around for you if they need to, and stay good if they're good. Bye!